40 years ago, Americans were preparing to bury their third assassinated political leader in less than 5 years' time. Like his brother, President John F. Kennedy, Robert Francis Kennedy would be laid to rest at Arlington National Cemetery. And just as in the case of his brother and that of Dr. Martin Luther King, questions linger. Only recently, two forensic scientists concluded that an audio recording of Bobby Kennedy's shooting reveals the presence of a second shooter. And now one of those shot alongside Kennedy wants a new investigation. He spoke with our own Adrian Finighan.
Paul Schrade, as a personal friend of Robert F. Kennedy's, what is your reaction to this new development, the new audio evidence that has come to light of late?
Well, I was surprised that we found it 40 years later, but I'm very satisfied that we've got really good scientific information now that backs up all the physical evidence we discovered in the pantry at the Ambassador Hotel after the shooting that night. There were bullet holes that were identified by the police department of Los Angeles and by the FBI. And what this new scientific information on this audio tape, it backs all that up.
So you think the evidence, the Pruszynski recording, is pretty strong evidence?
Very strong. I don't see how it can be refuted unless somebody uses the same kind of technology and methodology that was used by the audio engineer and forensic scientist Philip Van Praag. He's done some new work, and I don't think I see how it can be refuted by anybody.
In an effort, any effort to reopen the RFK murder investigation, I mean, will those be focused on a local city level? What about a state or national level?
Well, it might be all of those. I don't know if we can really get local action. After all, it was the police department in Los Angeles and the district attorneys that investigated this case that shut it down quickly, destroyed evidence of the second gunman, and just left us without any answers. We've been developing answers over the years, and now we have strong evidence based upon this audio tape of 13 shots, 2 double shots, the make and the model of the gun, and the directionality of those shots into the back of Robert Kennedy.
As you said, on the night that Robert Kennedy was shot, you were not only there in that kitchen pantry, you were shot yourself, along with 4 others. All 5 of you survived. It was only the senator who died of his wounds. Take us through the crucial moments, what you remember of that night 40 years ago.
He thanked many of the people, especially those who worked the precincts and got out the vote, and a few of us who were his friends and also in his campaign. And we left the platform. I got into the pantry area behind the platform before he did. We turned to proceed on to a print media press conference on the other side of the pantry. And I got shaking violently. I didn't know I'd been shot, but I thought I was being electrocuted. And so I fell and passed out, and took some time before I regained consciousness.
All right, so you lost consciousness. You were shot in the forehead, I understand. One of
yes.
the bones of contention from the Bobby Kennedy case is whether the senator was turned away from Sirhan or was actually facing him when the first shots were fired. With that issue in mind, I mean, is your memory of that night clear enough to know which way Robert Kennedy was facing?
Well, I know that he turned away from these 2 kitchen workers who were off to the left of us. He turned and then proceeded through the pantry. I know that he was facing Sirhan because I was right behind him a few feet. I got hit in the center of the forehead, which means that The gun fired by Sirhan was a bullet. It was a bullet from the Sirhan gun that hit me because I was facing Sirhan, as was Robert Kennedy. He was shot in the back with 4 shots, 3 of which wounded him. 1 went through the shoulder pad of his coat, back to front, and we know now that that the shooter, the second gunman, who's we have proof of that second shooter, was behind us and off to our right. Sirhan was off to the left and in front of us.
Do you think you know who killed your friend?
No, I don't, and that's why we've got to proceed rapidly with this investigation, because there's someone else out there, and I am hopeful that we can convince law enforcement and district attorney in Los Angeles to do something about it.
We understand you're hoping to arrange a meeting between the authorities and the 2 forensic experts you were talking about there, Robert Joling and Philip van Praag. What can you tell us about that?
We are proceeding with that. We're negotiating for time and a date. But the first thing we really have to do, and we're doing that, is to recruit new volunteer attorneys to handle this case. And I think we've recruited some, and we're very hopeful in getting started. And with those attorneys, then we will approach the Los Angeles Police Department and district attorney. They may claim a conflict of interest because they were wrong about this back in the 68 and beyond. So we may have to go to the state, we may have to go to the federal government to get some sort of resolution of this case.
Paul Schrade, a friend of Robert F. Kennedy and a fellow shooting victim, interviewed by our Adrian Finighan. Well, violent storms have been followed by the summer's first